Hey besties!
Hey!
It's one of our favorite episodes of the month.
Yes. Book Club!
Book Club!
Pew, pew, pew.
So today we are discussing The Housemaid, written by Freida McFadden. So Tashima, would you like to give...
do it.
Okay. I will give a brief introduction of the book.
Okay.
But The Housemaid is about a woman named Millie who was recently released from prison.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, she spent 10 years there, is basically living in her car, having a hard time finding work, and she ends up getting a job as a housemaid for Andrew and Nina Winchester.
Yeah, she's on parole.
Yes. She cooks for them, cleans for them, picks up their daughter, Cecilia, from school, and the longer she's there, she notices some weird things happening. So,
secrets.
yes.
And so she didn't disclose to them. So basically she's on parole. She got fired from her previous job, but because she's on parole, she's afraid of being sent back because she got fired, which in the beginning we don't know why.
Right.
And she's supposed to have somewhere to live. So her living in the car and not having a job is a really big issue. So she basically fakes it to make it with her interview. And everything is riding on her getting this job so that she doesn't get sent back to prison. And so she's not the only one basically keeping secrets.
Yes, she's a live-in housemaid.
Yeah.
That's very important. So she's not living out of her car anymore. She has a little space in the attic and the door locks from the outside.
Yeah.
Which she is initially uncomfortable with, but it's better than living out of her car.
She needs the job.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, everything kind of unfolds from there. You get to know the Winchesters, little quirks and everything. Everything is basically from Millie.
From the housemaid's perspective.
From the housemaid's perspective. The things that she's observing, you know, when she first meets Nina, the woman of the house, she's very bubbly and put together, every hair in its place. But then when she gets offered the job, she's super excited. And then she shows up and the house is in complete disarray. Like she just had this huge party. And from there, things get really weird because Nina starts being very inconsistent with the things that she's being told.
Yes.
Or that she's telling Millie to do. She'll tell her to clean something and then say, no, I didn't tell you to clean it. She accuses her for stealing things,
and
taking
she
things.
Pour milk directly on the floor. She would make messes in front of her just for her to go and clean them. Just being really nasty to her.
Just being very inconsistent. And then she starts hearing from other people that there were some mental health issues on Nina's side.
Yeah, that she actually spent time, I think it was 7 or 8 months, in a psychiatric ward for trying to drown her daughter.
Yeah, when she was an infant.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, it gets intense. So,
yeah.
Hope that's enough to whet the appetite to get you. Yeah. But hopefully you've read the book if you haven't.
Yeah, you don't want to go and do that.
You want to go check that out.
Because we just told you the whole book.
So, this is a super popular book. What are your thoughts on it? How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5?
I would give it a solid 4.
Same.
I liked the book. I enjoyed it, especially for it being such a short book. It's when I first started, so I started listening on a Monday, I believe, and I had finished the book by that Wednesday, Thursday.
Love those books.
Yeah, and it felt good to not be tied to a book for like a month or something. But then it also, there were a couple things where it was a little too sketch, you know, things that just were like, come on, that's a reach.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I agree. I think it was well written. I think I ended the book not having any questions about anything. I think it answered everything. The reason why I don't give it a 5 is just because, same with you, I felt like some things were a little bit like, that's too much of a reach. Yeah. And I think Andrew's punishments were just really strange to me.
Yeah.
Not the fact that he did them, but how he did them and what specifically he did.
Oh, what he did to punish her.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And Nina, it just seemed like, what? Just very, I don't know. Not that I'm into punishments or really judge punishments or whatever. It just seemed like, okay, that's weird, you know. But then in the end, the comment from his mom, you can kind of deduce that she probably did things like that, made him self-punish, self-harm himself
Mhm.
when he was a kid. So then you kind of, like I said, all the loose ends were tied up. But
Yeah.
I have a couple of book club questions.
Okay.
Were you surprised by part 2 and the switch to Nina's perspective?
I wasn't surprised. Oh, like the revelation of
Like
like,
basically how it's like Millie, 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 and then part 2, you hear from Nina for the first time in the book, and she's basically explaining why she's being disheveled, why she's treating
mm,
Millie the way that she was.
no.
Mm.
I feel, and this is where I see where people, because this book seems to have a little bit of controversy behind it.
Mm.
Like the author, um, not the author as a person, but her writing style.
Mhm.
I see like on Book Talk and stuff, people either love it or hate her writing style. And I have seen a few times where people were talking about the predictability of her writing style. And that is where, because up until that moment, I didn't really understand what people were talking about.
Mhm.
But the moment it switched to Nina, I was like, okay, I see now why people were saying I saw
Mhm.
this coming. Now, had we not read Gone Girl,
Oh, okay.
I probably would have been a little bit in greater shock, but
Mm.
it was giving very much Gone Girl vibes
Got it.
of like, okay, I see.
Mhm.
Because the moment she went up to the attic and was like, why is there a lock on the outside? That to me, I'm like, something is amiss.
Right.
And in my head, I automatically was like, either she's going to get trapped up there
Mhm.
and kept for whatever reason, or um, like I did suspect that there was going to be some kind of a replacement situation,
Mhm.
but not voluntarily. I thought it would be like very involuntary.
Yeah.
Not in the way that it was executed. I didn't predict that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I wasn't that surprised either, but I was surprised to learn because she just seemed to really dote on her daughter. So the whole psychiatric thing, I didn't really understand. And then it came to pass that basically Andrew did that to her daughter, basically put her in a bathtub, turned on the water, and Nina was on her way to try to save her daughter, and then the police came in. So that was his way of like holding that against her, like you're
That
never
was one of
leaving
the
me type of thing.
situations that was sketchy for me
Mm.
because I mean, there's no way I think anybody could predict in that manner that she would have woken up right then and there to then
Right.
almost kind of sort of save her baby as the police come in right at that very, like, that was timed too perfectly, and
Mhm.
I didn't like that scene. Like,
That was giving classic white neighborhood, police arrive very quickly.
yeah, like
Yeah,
that's just,
like
even with cameras, there's no guarantee after you direct her that she would have woken up right then and there.
mhm.
And it also just like, I don't know, the whole thing was just weird. And then her relationship with her daughter, like knowing but not knowing.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, like it just was strange. It just, some of the things I just didn't like.
So from Millie's perspective, pretty much from the beginning of the book, it seemed like everybody was really nice, cool family.
Mm-hmm.
Then Nina started showing her ass, and then she realized that Andrew was really nice. Basically seemed
Attractive.
like he attractive, very handsome, very successful, obviously. And oh, poor guy, he has this crazy wife that he
Mm-hmm.
loves so much, and he's just going to be with her kind of thing. So
Treats
then,
him bad, yells at him, criticizes him. She's a slob. She's
yep.
let herself go.
Mhm.
All these things.
Mhm.
Yeah. And like on the back end, Nina basically, from the moment that she hired Millie, has set this whole plan up because she was basically in an abusive relationship for how many years? 9 years? Eight
A
years?
long time.
Yeah,
Yes.
a really long
Yes.
time. And basically wanted Millie to replace her
Mhm.
and for her to have a way out.
Basically.
Yeah.
So again, before switching to part 2 for Nina's version, when Millie and Andrew went out together and like, hooked up that night,
Mm-hmm.
were you hoping that would prosper? Like, were you kind of hoping that they would end up together?
I wasn't hoping that they would end up together, but I feel like I didn't. That part was very like, we all knew that. We all saw that coming.
Right.
You know, it was set up to happen, and it was executed perfectly.
It was.
I guess I had more issues with it than I thought I did. So another thing that I didn't like is the whole trash can situation. I feel like that kind of didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like you could have cut that whole part out about the text message about the trash, about waking up later and missing the trash, asking Ivan?
Enzo.
Asking Enzo to get rid of the trash. Like, that whole bit served zero purpose. The stressor should have been more like, oh my God,
right,
she's coming home today. She said she was going to be home in the morning, let's just say.
Right.
And the sun is out and we're still here in these same clothes. And then you pull up, Enzo sees you and he's like, you need to get, like, you did the whole trash thing. I was just like, why did we just spend so much time on trash?
Right.
But then I guess in talking about it, now that I'm saying it out loud, the interaction between Enzo and Andrew about the trash put a bad taste in my mouth. That was the first time that you really got to see Andrew be a dick.
Right.
So I guess I kind of see where, now that I'm saying it out loud, I can see why. I just initially, I'm like, what is with this trash? But it did put a bad taste in my mouth because I'm like, wow, he's such a schmuck.
What did you think of Enzo's character?
I was so confused by him.
I thought it was really cool to find out that he had been helping Nina throughout that time, like get her stuff in order. But then when he showed up at her hotel room and they hooked up,
I just wish it wouldn't have been that.
And then he watched her daughter.
Yeah.
So that she could go back to the house. And then they decided that they were going to move after everything was over. He didn't want to move with her, but then he ends up with Millie.
Which I thought was weird AF.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the whole thing was weird, especially the way that he reacted to her when she was like, do you want company? And he like basically cussed her out in Italian.
Which was the most memorable scene for you?
Andy, I keep wanting to say Andy, I'm just gonna call him Andy. Andy being locked in the room.
Same.
Like her getting out with the mace or the pepper spray or whatever, and then like everything after that. Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss for sure. Oh, so it comes to pass that we find out Millie actually has a history of like vigilante type violence. Like she don't come looking for it, but if you about it, she'll come with it. So when she was in college, she essentially walked in on a boy sexually assaulting her best friend. She then killed that boy in the heat of it, and her friend never spoke to her again after that. Which, what kind of shit is that?
Yeah, but in the manner that the rage that she had in that moment, I think is what made people uncomfortable, because she didn't just hit him so that her friend could get away.
Yeah,
she basically, being like 100-something pounds, beat this 200-something pound football player in the head with this
a paperweight.
Yeah. So that part probably made her friend like, whoa, you are so unhinged. Like, thank you, but there's obviously something wrong with you. I could see, like, if you see somebody just totally like unlock in that way, that could probably be frightening.
I could see it being frightening, but in that situation,
like not just like a pink and then scurry off, like she beat him in, it's crazy.
I just think what a shitty friend. So that's why she went to jail for 10 years.
Yeah.
And Tima had mentioned that she had gotten fired from her job. It's from some other guy basically trying to like sexually assault her, and she punched him and knocked him out. And then I think there was a situation when she was in high school, her math teacher failed her. And it was because he was trying to do, she was very pretty.
Making advances.
Yeah, he was making advances and basically, sleep with me or you fail this class. Okay, well, I'm not going to sleep with you. And they failed her. She told her parents that was why, and they didn't believe her. So she just has a long history of people like violating her in a way. And Nina actually knew this about Millie.
Right.
So she wasn't necessarily hiring her to replace her, like step in my wifely shoes.
Right.
But you seem like the type of chick where if he does to you what he's been doing to me, you're going to kill him.
She wanted her to end him.
Yeah, exactly what happened to her is what. And so Andrew would basically lock Nina in the attic and make her torture herself, like pull out 100 hairs and put them in this envelope because she let her roots grow out. He made her pepper spray herself at some point.
For leaving the lights on. No, that wasn't for the lights.
I don't know what the pepper spray was for, but I'm just like insane that. Have you ever seen someone like get pepper sprayed before?
Yeah.
Like it's very intense. So he would have, just had her do like weird stuff. She had left a pee in a bucket, like literally lock her in there for days to where she couldn't come out. She has a certain amount of water.
3 bottles, tiny bottles of water, and a little tiny mini fridge.
Yep. And Nina had basically left a key for because she knew once like the honeymoon phase is going to be over. Like she knew Millie was going to end up in that attic at some point. She had set up for those two to go out on a date. Yeah, she basically set them up to have an affair. She started gaining weight. She started looking sloppy because she wanted to be less attractive to Andrew and make Millie be more attractive because he basically told her, "You're never going to leave me." So she did that to Millie. So yeah, just a very like strange, odd situation. But yeah, it was goals. Well, not goals, but it was like
it was perfect.
It was perfect.
Ended in the way of like, justice was served. Something that I didn't like, and this is just like a me thing, is that Millie only gave her like a year's salary.
Oh, Nina gave Millie a year's salary? Yeah, same.
I'm like, she basically did your dirty work. You could have given her more than that, considering the amount of money that she got when her husband tragically locked himself in the attic and died.
Yeah, so basically Millie, what did he lock Millie in the attic for? Was it just because she said that she wanted to sleep downstairs?
No, she left his books out. She borrowed 3 books.
That's right.
And left them on the table and didn't put them away, so he locked her in the attic.
And told her to hold those books on her stomach for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then she did it for 3 hours. And he's like, basically, no, that was 2 hours, 59 seconds. You didn't do it.
You have to do it all over
So then she had to do it all over again. So yeah, tortured her. She's like, I'm running out of water. You should have rationed your water better. So whenever he was ready to let her out, she got that pepper sprayed him. She had the key, got him in there, had him put books on his genitals, same thing. And he had like an app on his phone where he could see inside of the room.
On a hidden camera.
On a hidden camera. So yeah, she had him do that. She had him pull out his own teeth.
Yeah.
But
she had already drank the 3 bottles of water when he locked her in there.
Yep.
So when she escaped from the room, there was no water. So he had been in that room torturing himself per Millie's request. I think he was in there like 5 days, and he basically died from dehydration.
Yep.
Yeah. That was just, the whole thing was weird. The mom at the end. So I had a feeling that it was possible that the father had done the same thing to the mom. So for me, it was a plot twist to just hear that the mom was unhinged.
Right.
And that she just did all of this just because she was nuts.
Yeah.
And that she was like, she basically told Millie, I'm glad that you find that you were able to stand up to him and teach him a lesson against not brushing his teeth.
Yes.
And that because if you don't brush your teeth, then you'll lose the privilege of having teeth. And I'm glad that she basically was like, I'm glad you had him, or I'm glad he lost his teeth and that he died.
Nina finds out about the affair, which she knew about the affair because she totally set it up. When she brought it up to Andrew, he kicked her out of the house. She goes to a hotel. This is when all this is happening in the attic between Millie and Andrew. Enzo, who was the landscaper, which had secretly been helping like Nina plot her escape, and who Millie tried to holler at initially, and he didn't want any parts of it then. He went to Nina's hotel room. And Nina's like, good, my plan worked. And he essentially is the one who told her, like, that's not cool, what you're doing to her.
He didn't, so he basically did the passports, the money, the escape route, and all that, he didn't realize that. So Nina never told him that part of her plan was to have Millie take her place,
Right.
because originally it was just supposed to be an escape, but then Andrew ended up finding the safe deposit box with the passports and the money. Not all of the money, because she had more than one. So then she basically came up with a plan B, because Enzo's plan B was for him to just murder Andrew, because he had a sister who ended up dying because of domestic violence. So he also has a little bit of that, like, I couldn't save my sister, so I want to
do whatever I can for you.
But putting, I keep getting their names mixed up. Putting Millie in her place was never part of the plan that he was privy to. So he was very upset and taken aback, and was like, you know how this feels, and you are going to put her and just leave her there?
Right.
But he also wasn't privy to Millie's background. So he didn't really get the whole, like, trust me, this chick is unhinged and she'll be fine. I gave her the key and I gave her some pepper spray. Yeah, she's gone. Trust me when I tell you, she will be just fine. And he's still seeing this frail little housekeeper, not realizing that she's a little... But yeah, I thought the book was good. I am looking forward to reading the next one.
I look forward to it too.
So basically, besties, the way that it ends, which you would already know because you read the book, is that at the end of it, Millie had given the recommendation to a friend to hire... No. Why do I keep mixing up their names? Nina recommended Millie as
Hold
a
on. Go to, like, before the funeral, before, like, what happened when Nina went back to the house.
Oh, so when Nina went back to the house, she found out that he locked Millie in the room. She confirmed that he was dead, and she basically was like, I put you in this position. I'm going to take care of it. You get out of here. Because at this point, you have way more to lose in a way, and it's not really your fault. So she grew a conscience. She took the L, which turned out to not be a L, because the police officer who showed up at the scene was dating Andrew in the very beginning. They briefly talk about a fiance that nobody was able to find, who apparently had changed her name and disappeared off the face of the earth and hadn't dated anyone since she talked to Andrew. And would not actually tell anybody what happened while they were dating. So it obviously goes without saying that there was some kind of emotional or verbal abuse in that relationship as well. And so then that police officer was friends with the Emmy, who kind of worked it out so that it just seemed like he died of dehydration, and not that he was missing teeth and all of these things. Had bruising on his pelvis.
He was jacked up.
It sounded like he was really messed up.
Mangled.
And so then a year goes by, and Nina recommended Millie as a housekeeper, live-in housekeeper for a friend of hers. And then during the interview, this other woman is basically like telling her without telling her that she's in an abusive relationship.
Millie's
showing her some bruises on her neck, and is like, can you help me? And she was like, absolutely.
And before then, so after all that happened, we said that Nina gave Millie a year's salary and then basically sent her a picture of her and her daughter, Cece, at the beach. And it just said, thank you for this. And then her and Nina didn't speak at all after that. So when she's at this new interview, she had no idea. It wasn't until the lady said, Nina recommended you. And then she saw the bruises. And she's like, okay.
She was able to read
me around her circles.
Like, So this woman, it seems like the epilogue kind of gives you the idea that she is in a physically abusive relationship. I am very interested to read this next book, because I'm wondering, like, how will all of this play out? Because you're already not, because basically Millie said that she had given, I did it again. I keep mixing
Oh,
up their
Nina. It's
names.
not until you're about to finish that I realize you got to switch it
Yeah.
up, but you're stopping yourself. Yeah.
So Nina had basically told the police that she had given Millie the week off, and that because her daughter was at camp, she didn't need her to be at the house, so she gave her the week off. And so, as far as they're concerned, she had absolutely nothing to do with the situation that unraveled.
And her husband had separated, so that was basically her reason for like, I didn't know he was in the attic.
Right.
Like,
We
we
were
don't
gone.
talk. We don't. Yeah.
But the door locks from the outside, so the whole thing is
Yeah.
it's like there's no way that anybody could have done this.
The police officer definitely has some pull.
Yeah, for sure. Which he said that he did because whatever bad things that he did to his sister.
And the mom still found out about it because she's like, so
But
the police told us there's missing teeth and
Mm-hmm.
bruises on his genitals.
She wasn't sad. She wasn't anything.
No.
She was just like, good for you for teaching him a lesson. And then left.
Yeah.
So I'm just very curious to see how this is going to play out with potentially another situation happening. And then you have this link.
Mm-hmm.
So I am wondering how that's going to
Me too.
play out. So
Me too. Maybe we'll have to pick the second one for another book club down the line.
Yeah. Or just besties, you just want to read it and then you know, we can talk about it and mention it and let us know your thoughts. But yeah, it was a good read.
It was a good read.
We
need to do a book roundup of everything we're reading right now and just kind of get caught up. And let us know what you guys are reading out there too. But
definitely. Yeah. And if you have any recommendations or something that we can put on the list for book club, we're all ears.
We are.
I would just have to say, for me at least, with the exception of Hello Beautiful, I have really no desire to read that. So don't even bother.
Oh, I don't know what that's
It's
about.
a book that's really trendy. It was on Oprah's her book club list.
Oh.
And it's kind of like how there was so much hype about The Help, which is an amazing book, by the way. It's kind of like that, where everybody's like, oh my God, the book, the book, the book, the book.
Oh, okay.
But I've heard enough about it that I really don't want to find out for myself.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I've just deduced that I'm not interested. So.
Okay. All right.
Well, yeah, if you want to read it on your own. I'm not gonna.
Well, let us know regardless.
I know book club is supposed to be like, well, you know, you're exposed to other things, but it's a thick ass book, and I really don't feel like wasting my time. So let's just not even bother. So I'm just gonna be very transparent. So the next book for book club is going to be Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. It's supposed to be a good one. So it's in the mystery genre, I believe. Mystery thriller genre, I think.
I feel like it.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's our next book, and
pick it up.
Yeah.
Put it on hold, whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Read it, listen to it. Again, however you want to consume your content is A-okay with us.
Judgment-free zone.
Yep. Because I am the audiobook queen. I have crowned myself.
Yeah, same.
Audiobook queen. So, all right, besties. We will catch you next time.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.